Chapter 6. Fractured Hopes. The new safe house was a cavernous cellar beneath a long-abandoned warehouse, its rock walls slick with seeping moisture. Old crates and makeshift benches formed a haphazard meeting space in the center. A single exposed bulb flickered overhead, casting restless shadows on the gathered faces. After the ambush at the library, the group had scattered, reconvening here by coded message. But despite finding each other again, a grim pall clung to every conversation. Selene sat on a splintered crate, her knees drawn up and her arms wrapped tightly around them. She could still feel the echo of the library's gunfire, sharp, terrifying bursts that had torn apart their meeting. Some of their allies had been captured or forced to flee. Now only a battered core remained, Ethan, Ava, Draven, and a few others, each bearing fresh bruises and shaken nerves. Every footstep in the corridor beyond made them flinch. Ava hovered beside Selene, a quiet, empathic presence. "Hey," she said softly, pressing a steaming mug of tea into Selene's hands. "You haven't slept, have you?" Selene managed a weak shake of her head. Images from the failed gathering haunted her, the watchers falling under enforcer batons, illusions shattering against bullet fire. "Not really," she admitted, voice hushed. "I keep thinking about the people we lost, and what might have happened to them." She dared a quick glance at Draven, who stood a short distance away, conferring with two watchers who had barely escaped the raid. His face was taut, eyes shadowed with anger or sorrow, maybe both. He caught Selene's gaze for a moment. A flicker of sympathy passed between them, before he returned to his hushed discussion. Ethan paced the cellar's perimeter. In the ghostly light, his expression looked more pained than usual. Earlier, he'd confided to Selene that the library ambush reeked of sabotage. Someone must have leaked their location. But calling out the possibility of a traitor would shred what little trust remained in the group. Worse still, they had no proof. By evening, the survivors formed a loose ring in the middle of the cellar. Draven set down a small lantern, its wavering light illuminating tired faces. "We need to talk," he said, voice carrying a gravity that silenced the room. "We've lost some of our people. Others are in hiding or worse, captured. The library was compromised far too precisely. I'm afraid we have a leak." A muffled gasp rippled through the group. Nervous glances flew from one face to the next, each daring not to accuse but unwilling to deny it. Selene's pulse throbbed. She remembered how the enforcers seemed to know exactly which route they'd use to escape. Ava, standing close to Draven, folded her arms. "Draven's right. That raid was coordinated. They knew our safe points." Her voice wavered, half anger, half heartbreak. "I can sense fear all around us. Everyone is terrified, but we can't let panic break us apart." Ethan ceased his restless pacing. "We have to consider that someone in our ranks might be coerced. The organization sometimes blackmails people, threatens their families, loved ones. It might not be outright betrayal." Silence fell, thick as fog. No one volunteered a confession, nor did anyone accuse a friend. Selene's gaze landed on a watcher named Lyle, a brash, wiry young man who bit at his thumbnail incessantly. She didn't know him well, only that he'd joined the group a month before her. He avoided her eyes. Draven exhaled, raking a hand through strands of silver-shot hair. "We can't unravel this by suspicion alone. What we need is to regroup, recover, and continue to train. If we let distrust consume us, the organization wins." They broke off into smaller clusters, strategizing how to fortify the cellar from prying eyes or eavesdropping technology. A pair of watchers tested electronic jammers in the corner, hoping to obscure any signals. Another group pored over a city map, marking abandoned places where they might hide supplies. Everywhere Selene looked, she saw the same mixture of worry and resolve that she felt in herself. She wound up beside Ava again. The healer's presence radiated a calming influence that soothed Selene's frayed nerves. "Are you going to keep training me?" Selene asked quietly. "Even after all this?" Ava nodded. "You need it more than ever. Oneiric Fusion is powerful, but it's fueled by emotion. If you let fear and guilt take over, you might lose control. You saw how illusions can fail against real bullets. We have to refine that power, make it a defense, or a tool to protect people. Selene swallowed. I feel guilty. Like if I'd mastered it sooner, maybe I could have shielded the group better, saved them from the enforcers. Ava placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. You barely know how to harness your abilities, Selene. Don't pin this on yourself. The best thing you can do is learn and keep everyone safe next time. That night, they held a brief training session, more subdued than any Selene had experienced. Ava and Draven guided her into a shared dreamscape, a battered courtyard reminiscent of the library, but empty, quiet. Broken pillars and half-collapsed walls loomed around them, stirring uneasy memories. Selene's breath hitched. Focus on something small, Draven instructed within the dream. Create a barrier. Imagine it solid, unyielding. Keep the shape simple. Selene closed her eyes, summoning the flicker she recognized as her dream energy. Slowly, a translucent wall shimmered into being, curving around them like an invisible dome. She poured her concentration into steadying it. For a moment it held, faintly glowing, but then a twist of anxiety seeped through her, and the barrier flickered in and out of existence. Ava caught Selene's arm before she could stagger. Deep breaths. Don't dwell on the fear. Draven circled, testing the barrier's edges. Not bad for a first attempt, but it needs anchoring. Your emotions are still too raw. Selene bit her lip. The memory of her allies falling at the library replayed like a cruel echo, riling her guilt. She pictured their faces, their terror, fear spiked, and the barrier shattered into swirling motes of light. Her heart sank, but Draven laid a firm hand on her shoulder. This is why we practice, he said gently. We'll go again. After they emerged from the dream training, Selene felt drained, both physically and emotionally. The cellar had grown colder, condensation dripping from overhead beams. Most of the group lay curled in sleeping bags or huddled on crates, trying to catch fragments of rest. Lyle hunched at the far side of the cellar, an anxious set to his jaw as he fiddled with a handheld radio. He glanced up once, meeting Selene's eyes before quickly looking away. The night wore on, and Selene dozed fitfully against a wall. In her half-conscious haze, footsteps echoed softly through the corridors, a single figure, creeping. She forced her eyes open but saw only swirling shadows. The footfalls faded, leaving behind the hush of slumbering allies. Had she imagined it? She woke before dawn to find a meager breakfast of canned rations already distributed. People ate in subdued silence. Sophia, who had arrived late the previous evening, squeezed Selene's hand in greeting but said nothing about the tension in the air. Her comforting presence almost undid Selene's self-control. She wanted to spill every anxiety, but the fear of potential betrayal froze her tongue. Mid-morning brought dire news from an outlying contact. Another ally had gone missing in the night. Whispers of betrayal intensified, though no one dared speak openly yet. The group's morale felt as fragile as cracked glass. One more blow and it might shatter. Selene helped reorganize supplies, forcing her mind to stay busy. Draven hovered nearby, occasionally sharing quiet instructions. At one point he paused, searching Selene's face. "We can't lose hope," he said, voice barely above a whisper. "If a traitor does lurk among us, they thrive on our panic." Selene's throat tightened. "But how do we fight what we can't see?" "By remembering why we're here. Our powers can restore dreams to those who've been oppressed, or we can cower and lose them altogether. We choose the first." She nodded, clinging to his words. That evening the group prepared to relocate yet again. This safe house felt compromised, suspicion gnawing at everyone. The watchers gathered up gear, eager to leave before nightfall. Selene carefully folded her meager possessions, extra clothes, the precious dream tome, and slipped them into her satchel. As she double-checked the corner where she'd slept, she noticed something glinting on the damp floor. A small metallic pin. She knelt, picking it up with cautious fingers. It looked like part of a broken transmitter or earpiece, etched with official insignia. Her pulse spiked. Could this have been planted to track them? Fear churned her stomach. She lifted her head, scanning the cellar. Nobody else was near. Instinct told her this was confirmation that someone among them was feeding the organization information. If she raised the alarm, would it just stoke more paranoia? Would the traitor run? She grimaced, pocketing the device. I'll show Draven in private. But even that decision felt weighted. Every ally was a suspect or a victim. The fractured hopes that had gathered them here now threatened to blow them apart. Outside, the wind howled, a storm gathering under the city's smog-stained sky. Selene clutched her satchel and moved to follow the others, her heart heavy. The dream realm offered brief respite, a place where illusions might guard them. But in the waking world, illusions faltered under suspicion and violence. As thunder rumbled in the distance, she steeled herself, determined not to let fear break her. They had to find a way forward, no matter how fractured their hopes might be.